Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, and this is the new Woodscraft Chanto from Tuff Gear. So this knife is designed by Eric from Outer Limitless. He also designed the T17, which is a knife that he basically built from the ground up, offers a lot of customization options. This thing is, it reminds me of like a slimmed down, much pointier version of the SE Hungless, and that's kind of what he was going for. The Chanto or Tanto tip that you see here, a lot of people are like, are you going to use that in the woods? And he basically wanted to build something to show that yes, you can actually use it in the woods, and it's going to be quite effective to do so. 16.5 inches from end to end and just under 11 inches, so 10.8 inches for your blade length. 19.2 ounces for your weight and 0.196 inches thick. So very similar again to like the Hungless. It's about that same thickness for the SE Hungless. You got a saber grind with a convex edge. It is SK85, which is very popular with Tuff Gear. They make a lot of knives and tools in the SK85 steel. You can see you have like kind of a black, sort of a powder coat looks like on there, and then completely uncoated on the top. Full tang. This one has orange liners. They do, when they actually produce the different knives after they have designs all set, they do lots of different colors, handle styles, different liners, things like that. So if you like this, you can look for this exact one. And then if you like the overall blade, the performance, that type of stuff, then you can get this, but get it with a lot of different options as they produce them in the future. G10 for your handle there. Again, it's called the, as you can see there, Woodscraft Chanto, and that's Chanto, like a chopper and a Tanto all in one. As you can see, it's brand new. It's still got some of the oil right there on the blade. I always like to show off the knives before they get used and then put them through the paces just so you can see what they look like straight out of the box. It does come with a Kydex sheath. Let me show you that now. All right, so there's your Kydex sheath. Very nicely put together. It does have like a carrying system, so you can rig it up on a belt. You can carry it, I think, baldric style as well. But the Kydex is basic. The thing I like about it is it offers a lot of options for attachment points. So, slots, you got holes, paracord, you can run webbing through there, however you want to do it. So it is, as soon as you pick it up, you can see quickly that you got a couple hand positions. You can hold it just normal like this. You could certainly choke up like that to get up real close. You could also kind of hold it back here because of that little bump there. I don't know if you can see that, but like right here, yeah, there's a little, it rises up. Now you can get 3 or 4 fingers back there for chopping. Nice hole for a lanyard there to get more control on it. Yeah, as soon as I picked it up, I was like, ooh, this thing feels very easy to wield in your hand. Kind of reminds me of like a Woods tactical version of like a Rat 7 from Ontario Knife Company. Definitely bigger than that, but feels, despite the length, it feels very manageable in hand. So let's talk about the tip of the knife right here. So one thing that, immediately you'll see is that this versus your standard drop point, like on an SE, where it basically comes to a point and then drops like this, you can have a much finer tip. So that's gonna allow you to pierce really easy. You wanna be careful that you don't, get it in there and try to crank on something and snap the tip off. But it does have a nice thickness. Obviously it comes to a finer point there, but it does have a nice thickness. So it's not like it's a super thin knife or tool that's going to that has no strength up towards the end. You just want to be careful, obviously, because of that tip. But definitely stabbing and piercing, if you need to get into something and then spin it, to make you maybe drill a hole or something like that, or get a hole started for like for a bow drill or something like that, super easy to do it with that very aggressive tip there. This one's got all kinds of twists and turns in it. Right through it. I'll do a little chopping here. Easy work. Just testing this guy out a little bit more for feather sticks. So at this point in the video, I actually have some footage to show you, and I put some music to it, and then I had a copyright issue come up from YouTube, which I'm not really sure what that's all about. But anyhow, I eliminated the music, and here's the footage of the tool doing its magic. So check out the Woodscraft Chanto doing some work. All right, so I processed through some maple here, and there's a look. You can also hear the dog going nuts in the background, so I left the last piece right there. But yeah, I mean, it did some nice work on this thing. It doesn't have a huge amount of weight, so it's not like chopping with something that's just got a ton of beef that you're just like letting the weight, you know, fall out of your hand. But I'm a little winded, but definitely went through this maple quite effectively. We are in the middle of an ice storm here in New Hampshire, but the video review goes on. So let's talk about the Woodscraft Chanto from Work Tough Gear. Overall, I really like this thing a lot. What can I tell you about it that's going to make it stand out for you? Well, the first thing I think is I love the thickness compared to the length and the weight. It doesn't have a ton of weight, so when you're carrying it, it's not like another one of my favorites is the Tuff's Woodcraft Kukri, or Bushcraft Kukri, I should say. That thing, when you're swinging with it, you can definitely feel the weight kind of, you know, bringing the momentum forward as you're chopping. I don't think you don't feel that with this guy as much, but because it's lightweight, despite its length, like I said, it's very maneuverable to do all kinds of different tasks without it being kind of clunky or clumsy. So I like that. Chopping, batoning, it did all those tasks nicely. Some of the more fine tasks, you know, like carving out notches, you saw some feather sticks, and I've used this on and off camera, just so you guys know. I do think the way the handle falls in your hand, it's really interesting, because this bump, when I first held it, I'm like, should that be forward or back a little bit? But where it falls, I feel like gives me really good control, and yet it allows me to bring my hand back a little bit for chopping, and also lock it in forward for some more detail work. And like I said, obviously you can choke up with the choil to do some more fine work. The effectiveness of that point, like I said, piercing, absolutely. An additional angle, you know, that you have here is that you got this short piece of blade right in this section, which could allow you to do some more fine work without that curved edge that you have on some other chopping tools. Like I said, the SE Hungless, which again, I love. I think it's probably my favorite overall knife or tool ever. But this gives you a little bit more of that straight edge for doing some of these, you know, sort of push cuts maybe with a flat edge, as opposed to having to work a rounded edge and a drop point. So I think that's unique. I will say again, be cautious when you are piercing or doing anything with that tip. I don't see this knife, you know, you sticking it in and prying it. That's not going to work well for this knife, I don't think. Despite the fact that it is quite thick at the end, it's just, that's going to be on any Chanto or Chanto blade, that's going to be something you need to be cautious about. Let's see, the sheath, like I said, it does have a carrying system, but the overall Kydex, great. The carrying system works fine. I've seen it on other Work Tough gear options. You can strap it to a pack, put it on your belt. You can run the, it comes with a piece of webbing, so you can carry it across your chest or on your side, your back. So lots of different versatility for that, but I'm always concerned about the quality of the Kydex, and the Kydex here I think is quite good. So downsides to this, if you want something that's gonna be a really hefty chopper, this thing is not super heavy, and so you wanna consider that. Maybe you wanna go with something heavier. If you want something that's gonna have a lot of flex, like a machete, then you know you wanna go with something a little bit thinner. This to me is that nice middle ground. I could definitely see using this as a primary carry, like survival knife. Instead of carrying a chopper and a smaller knife, this thing, because it is so manageable, gives you something right in the middle there. So you can do some chopping with it, you can do some batoning with it, but you can also do some of the finer tasks. So I think most people would say that's probably too big to be considered just a knife, but I do think it could be used very easily as a primary cutting tool out in the woods. And you know, bottom line of it all, it's just unique to have like a tool this big with like this really pointy end with those sharper angles as opposed to like a drop point. I just think that's cool. I think that's unique, and I like what Eric has done with Work Tough gear. The SK85, I've said this in other videos with Work Tough gear. It's a good steel. I mean, these guys, this is to like a mirror finish. It's really impressive what they did when they sharpened this guy up. I haven't had any issues with SK85 in the different knives I've used from those guys over the years. So this one is definitely a win. This is definitely a win in my book. If you want something unique and different that can function for a chopping tool, for slicing, for some finer work, this may be one that you want to check out. One of the biggest challenges for Work Tough gear is that they put the knives out and they get sold so quickly that people go looking for them and then they're like, hey, I couldn't find that one. So if you see it pop up on their website and it's for sale, you may want to jump at it really quickly. Last thing I want to say is the kind of hook here. Because of how that falls, like when you're holding the knife, let's see, if I'm holding it like this in this section, it feels like a normal knife. When you're holding it like this, it does lean forward a little bit. I do think that you want to be aware when you're chopping, you really want to hit in this section as opposed to in this section. You're just going to have more beef, you know, more of the weight and the chunkiness of the knife here. Oftentimes really kind of on the curve on like an SE hungless or something that's got that drop point. That's where you're going to want to hit. You want to hit just a little bit lower here, but you still got, you know, 3-4 inches of really solid space for chopping. But I think this thing is a win. Price point for this is going to be right around $200. They may come down as far as the price in the future, but yeah, cool option. And I like this thing, and I look forward to, you know, getting this out in the woods and doing some more work with it. You can hear the rain or the ice is kicking up here, bouncing off my tarp shelter. But let's hear your thoughts on this thing. What do you like about it? What would you change? Things that are, you know, that you're like, that's a major win, or that's something I'd be concerned about. Leave some comments in the comment section, and we will we'll get that discussion started in the comment section, both for me, for you guys, and also for Eric and Work Tough Gear, so they can see your thoughts on this. But let's get that conversation started now. All right, guys, thanks as always for checking out the videos here on YouTube. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, Tumblr, and Vero as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.